Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are stepping way back in time to explore what I like to call an ancient mega summit, the Rajasuya sacrifice. We're talking mind-boggling luxury, massive egos, and some truly insane event logistics.
I mean, it's a staggering thought, right? What does it actually take to host the absolute most powerful kings, the most lethal warriors, and the bitterest political rivals of the ancient world under one single roof? We're looking at a monumental event from ancient Indian history and epic literature, a gathering where the known world converged in one single location. Imagine the sheer logistical nightmare of this. You've got massive egos, competing armies, and kings who are totally used to absolute supremacy, all traveling to one spot. King Yudhishthira faced this unprecedented challenge. He wasn't just throwing some royal banquet, he was organizing a summit that would effectively redefine the global power structure of his time. The catering, the accommodations, the security, the pure tension. It's a logistical triumph that is just fascinating to look at.
So, to understand why everyone is packing their bags, we really need to understand the event itself. The Rajasuya sacrifice is this massive sacrificial ceremony, but let's be clear here, this isn't just a religious ritual. It is the ultimate geopolitical flex. By performing this sacrifice, King Yudhishthira is making a bold, undeniable claim to imperial sovereignty. He's basically declaring himself emperor over all the other kings. And here's the catch. If you're a subordinate or even just an allied ruler, you don't just send an RSVP card. No way. You have to attend in person, and you have to bring incredibly costly jewels as tribute to acknowledge his supremacy. So that's exactly why you have the entire ancient world mobilizing with caravans of staggering wealth. Okay, let's dive into this. Every massive event starts with the invitations, right? And Yudhishthira doesn't just send standard messengers, he sends his own brothers. The ever-victorious Nakula makes the journey to Hastinapura specifically to formally invite the revered Kuru elders, Bhishma and Dhritarashtra. Now, this is a really crucial detail because it establishes the diplomatic weight of the whole event. By inviting the elders with all the due ceremonies, Nakula literally sets this global migration of royalty into motion. Word spreads like wildfire. Soon hundreds of other Kshatriyas, the elite warrior class who completely understand the massive political weight of this sacrifice, start heading towards Yudhishthira's kingdom with joyous hearts, bringing their massive tributes of jewels. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer, unbelievable diversity of the factions gathered. It is staggering. You have immediate family and major rivals like the Kurus, right alongside the absolute heavyweights of war like Karna, the foremost of all charioteers, Drona, Ashwathama, and Salya. The geographic reach spans from sophisticated kings of Vanga and Galinga to rugged mountain lords and powerful coastal tribes, known as Mlechchas, traveling from the marshy sea shores. Add in the mighty car warriors of the Vrishnis, and you literally have mountain lords, coastal tribes, sophisticated royals, and legendary generals all converging in one single location. So you have thousands of royals, their massive retinues, and their heavily armed guards all arriving at once. Where do you put them all? Well, the source text tells us that at Yudhishthira's command, specially assigned mansions were built, and the scale of these mansions is honestly tough to wrap our modern minds around. The text notes they were so massive and so perfectly whitewashed that they looked handsome even from the distance of 1 yojana. Now, a yojana is an ancient measure of distance, and it roughly translates to about 8 or 9 miles. Just imagine that for a second. Imagine approaching a city and seeing a gleaming, snow-white temporary city of mansions dominating the horizon from almost 10 miles away. The writers of this account gave us a really vivid visual to help us understand this sheer awe. They described the mansions as being like the cliffs of Kailasa, like peaks of the Himalaya. The event planners were literally recreating the mythical mountainous abodes of the gods right there on the plains. These uniform, towering, snow-white structures adorned with medals didn't just house the guests, they humbled them. Think about it. When a rival king rolls up to a temporary guest house that looks like a literal Himalayan mountain peak, it immediately establishes the absolute wealth and unshakable power of the host, King Yudhishthira. And this brilliantly illustrates what it meant to experience ancient 5-star luxury. Once these kings stepped inside their mountain-like mansions, the opulence was just staggering. We're talking windows covered with actual gold networks. The interiors were furnished with literal rows of pearls. Imagine walking on floors laid entirely with costly carpets, while the air around you is heavily perfumed with excellent fragrant aloes. Even the grounds were meticulously landscaped with water tanks and tall trees. And logistically, they thought of absolutely everything.
The doors and entrances were built uniformly and wide enough to easily admit the massive crowds of guards and attendants that always travel with the king.
Let's move on and see how this builds a brilliant psychological dynamic. Remember who the guests are here. These are rugged, heavily armed, incredibly diverse, and fiercely rival warriors coming from rough, marshy seashores and harsh mountain kingdoms. These are men accustomed to battle and conflict. Now contrast them with their accommodations. Pristine, uniform mansions with easy flights of stairs, hung with fragrant garlands of flowers and designed for perfect comfort. This is top-tier event planning. Yudhishthira is actively neutralizing the aggressive, invincible energy of these rival warriors by immersing them in an environment of total peace, extreme luxury, and sensory perfection. I mean, you can't exactly start a war when you're resting on costly carpets and smelling fragrant aloes, right? All of this culminates in a spectacular final payoff. After the monarchs have rested in their pearled, perfumed mansions, they finally gather in the main sacrificial mansion to behold King Yudhishthira. He's surrounded by numerous sacrificial priests who are continually performing sacrifices and distributing massive gifts to the Brahmanas, the esteemed scholars and priests of the era. The kings just watch in awe. The ancient text paints an unbelievable picture of this climax, stating that the sacrificial mansion, packed wall to wall with the world's greatest kings, alongside the Brahmanas and mighty rishis, the revered sages of the realm, looked as handsome as heaven itself, crowded with the gods. It is the ultimate display of harmony, power, and divine blessing.
But this brings us to a crucial, lingering question. When you put the entire world's most powerful, jewel-bearing kings right alongside bitter, invincible rival warriors like Duryodhana and Karna, all inside one single heavenly room, how long can the peace possibly last? Yudhishthira has built an absolute paradise on earth, but beneath the pearls and the aloe perfume, the tension of 1,000 rivalries is silently brewing in that room. It's a masterpiece of diplomacy for sure, but as we know from history, gathering so much power in one place is like lighting a match near a powder keg. I hope this explainer helped you visualize the staggering scale of the Rajasuya summit. Keep this incredible scene in your mind as you explore more about this epic era.